Hi, everybody. My name is Angie Peacock. I'm a psychiatric drug withdrawal consultant and healing coach. Today, we are bringing you Coach Dan Landauer. I will read his bio in just a minute, but if you're watching on YouTube, please do me a huge favor and hit subscribe or like or comment, just because that's the way the world works now. Thank you for joining us. If you're on Facebook, comment below, or you can share this to your page or to your group. That would be cool. We're going to talk a lot about the healing process, about community, and more stuff today. So let me get started and read you Dan's bio. Coach Dan Landauer is a psychiatric drug withdrawal coach who has firsthand experience with the destruction these drugs inflict and is dedicated to helping others heal and recover from their damaging effects. In 2015, Dan entered a treatment center and survived a rapid 9-day taper from a cocktail of prescription drugs. His health was devastated, his mental faculties were severely damaged, and he suffered from a barrage of horrifying symptoms. After spending years recovering, Dan has found a new drive and passion in helping others who are suffering the same as he was, and works to help pull them up from the trenches of psych med damage. Dan is founder and creator of Philosophical Fishing, an online space that seeks to bring light, healing, and awareness to benzodiazepine and psychiatric drug injuries. His dedication has earned him a loyal following that he has fostered and has become a beautiful collective of people that support and encourage each other through their healing journeys. Through Philosophical Fishing, Dan collaborates with others in the benzo community across various social media platforms to help spread awareness and hope via interviews, podcasts, and videos. Due to Dan's unwavering involvement in his recovery community, he has witnessed the therapeutic effects that result from identifying with someone who has been where they are. He now utilizes that understanding to help gently guide others to walk the path toward deep healing. You can learn more about Dan on his website and YouTube channel. It's philosophicalfishing.com. It will be below in the comments or in the caption on YouTube, or his YouTube channel is also Philosophical Fishing. What do you think when I read that, Dan? That's your
Oh my
bio.
God. When I hear that, I think like I should have something really like deep and profound to say. I'm going to say something life-changing after hearing that. I
It's
don't.
like, that's me. Oh my God, that's where I've been. I know bios are
Yeah.
intense that way. Okay, so let's start out. Let's just say, like tell people how you got put on psychiatric drugs. How did you come to be a patient in the system?
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about this. It's really important. Um, so I became a psychiatric patient at the age of 17. Um, I always had depression, anxiety as far back as I could remember, even when I was a little kid. I mean, I can remember being 5 years old and I felt depressed and, couldn't identify, didn't know what was going on as I got older. It was the mid to late 90s, and all the commercials on TV were talking about, well, if you're depressed, you've got a chemical imbalance. And if you have a chemical imbalance, then you need this pill, and there's all these advertisements on, as I'm sure anybody who was around at that time knows, at least here in the US. And so I went to my GP, described my symptoms of depression. I got put on Zoloft at the age of 17. That was the first thing I ever took. And right away, like it had a big effect on me. Like I didn't, I kind of went the opposite way. Like I kind of went manic, and I became like aggressive, and I was never that way. I was always like very calm, pretty easygoing, and it made me kind of like aggressive, combative, confrontational. It changed my personality really fast. And looking back on it, I'm like, wow, that was just really unchecked that all this stuff was happening at this time. Um,
What were they thinking, that you were just a bad kid or what at the time?
and I think so. I think because I was like 17 years old, 18, and so they're like, whatever. It's just like a rebellious phase he's going through, But it looking back on it now, I can see that it kind of sent me into this like hypomanic or even hypermanic state of mind, where in that aggression, in that hyper aroused state, I also started to make some bad choices. I started to get kind of reckless in my behavior.
Mhm.
So other substances started to come into the mix. Marijuana addiction is part of my story. So, you know, alcohol came into the mix, and I didn't realize at the time that I was doing all these things to self-medicate. I was trying to soothe. That there was something in me that felt wrong. I knew it, I knew that I felt depressed. I knew that there was something, not right. That's the only way I could describe it. I couldn't identify trauma. I couldn't identify what it was. I just knew that something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of fast forward a little bit. I'm on Zoloft for a few years, and my drinking is escalating. And now, I'm starting to drink not only at night, but I'm starting to drink in the morning. And I'm starting to see that, like, around age 20, 21, this is becoming a real issue for me, and it's starting to scare me. And again, I I was kind of in the party scene. I was a musician. I was like doing all that stuff. So all that stuff was around me, but at the same time, there was something a little bit different about the way that I did it, in that I was still trying to, consume alcohol to soothe myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I did, the anxiety would lessen, the anxiety would go away, and I would start to feel like, okay, I'm okay now. Like I can go show up in the world. The only problem was I was drinking excessively. So I I had my first dose of Xanax at 21, and that came by route of somebody that I worked with in the restaurant industry. So I did not start out legitimately taking benzodiazepines. However, I could tell right away that it did something for me to my anxiety. Like, it really dampened the anxiety, really lessened it. And a byproduct of it was that I could cut drinking alcohol. I could really cut my intake. And that really helped me, because now I could function. I could, I had
Yeah.
this medication that I could take. So I figured, okay, if this stuff works so well, then I'm going to go to my doctor, and I'm going to go the legit route. And I'm going to ask him, can I get on this drug, because it's really helping me? So that's
Mm.
exactly what I did. And he obliged. And I started taking Xanax 0.5 milligrams, I think once or twice a day. And I stuck to my dose. I did. Even though there were other issues with opiates that were kind of going on unabated. I was taking my dose as prescribed during this time. So, and then I'll fast forward again a couple years down the road. So I'm still struggling with, like, anxiety, depression. The Xanax is helping, but I went through so many different antidepressants, which I'm pretty sure you did too, Angie.
Oh yeah.
Because I would think, okay, like, I've been on Zoloft 50 milligrams, and now, like, I'm depressed again. I'm still not feeling right. Like, this drug I thought
Right.
was going to fix me, I'm still, I'm getting down in the dumps. I'm feeling really depressed. I'm going through these really, really dark times.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to my doctor, and the doctor said, well, it's the Zoloft that's the problem. You just need to be on a different SSRI. So I would switch from Zoloft to Lexapro, from Lexapro to, oh my God, I
Who
probably
knows?
went through like 5 or 6. I can't remember them all, but
I
they were
know.
all SSRIs.
Yeah.
And I just kept bouncing around. And I'm like, okay, well, this stuff, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's working anymore. Like, I kind of got to a point where I'm like, okay, like, what do I do? I'm on various antidepressants. The Xanax is still helping, but my 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 the depression was still there. And the only thing that I could medicate that with was opiates. That's the only thing
Mm.
that I found that would alleviate that. So now
Mm-hmm.
I'm on,
How
various,
old are you at this point?
oh God, probably like 22 or 23. I'm still in my early 20s.
Yeah.
But when I found opiates, that took the place where the antidepressants, like, stopped for me. It was like I was able to fill in that gap with
Yeah.
opiates, because that kind of, I felt like that kind of brought me back up. Like, that gave me some buoyancy. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
self-medicating. I'm still taking the medications. Um, and the Xanax was working for me for quite a long time. I didn't stop drinking, but the alcohol consumption lessened a lot to where I could
Mm-hmm.
function. So I kind of went from, like, I wouldn't say I was homeless, but I was couch surfing. I didn't really have a place to call my own. I was kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the vagabond musician guy, like, traveling everywhere, doing the
Mm-hmm.
bohemian lifestyle.
What
And
instrument do you play? I have to know.
oh, I play
Guitar.
guitar.
Awesome. I figured. I could tell.
Guitar. I'm a singer. Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Awesome.
yeah. And I dabble at piano, but it's pretty pathetic. I can just play a little bit.
Nice.
So I don't do that publicly. But yeah, yeah. So I'm traveling, with my band, blah blah, doing all this stuff, and I got to the point where, like, I was like, okay, I want to go back to school. Like, I'm tired of being broke, and the benzos allowed me to do that. Like, I didn't have to
Mm-hmm.
drink so much. So I went back to school. I got my bachelor's degree. And I was doing pretty well for a while. And then
Mhm.
it was actually right towards the end of college. So I'm probably like 27 or 28 now. And that's when the benzos stopped working. That's when I hit tolerance withdrawal. And I kind of knew, like I kind of figured that was what was going on,
Mhm.
but I wasn't 100% sure because, all of a sudden I hadn't had panic attacks in such a long time. It had been years since I
Mhm.
started taking the benzos that I had had any panic attacks. And now all of a sudden I'm getting these panic attacks again. And I'm like, okay, holy crap, this is really freaking me out because I was nearing the end of my degree. I've got a full load of classes. I'm working full time or part time. I'm busy. Like I can't just like stop my life. I
Mhm.
live with my girlfriend, and I'm just like I started to come apart at the seams mentally. And I'm still medicating with the opiates, but I'm not drinking as much. I'm on the antidepressant. I'm on the same dosage of Xanax. So I'm like, what do I do? Like, what? I didn't know what to do. So I went to my university, and I found a psychiatrist there. And her remedy, she said, all you need to do is up your dose. And I'm like, well, okay, like I could up my dose, but like where does it stop though? Like I could up my dose now, but aren't I going to have to do that again down the
Right.
line in the future? And her response was it was kind of flippant. She was just like, well, it's you don't have to worry about that right now. Just
Do this now. Ugh.
do this now. Yeah, just
Yeah.
take. So she prescribed me Xanax XR, the extended release version. That helped for a little bit, and then something about that, I don't know, didn't really work. So then they switched me from Xanax XR to Ativan. I took Ativan for probably another year and a half. This is where things start to get a little bit foggy for me. Um, but then at some point, I ended up on Klonopin at a new doctor, a new psychiatrist, a new psychologist. And they said, I think because the Ativan is shorter acting, you need to be on Klonopin. That's going to, even
Mhm.
you out. It's going to be longer acting benzo for you. So I think this was around, I was probably like 30, 31.
Mhm.
And now I've got a career as a teacher. I'm a middle school teacher. I'm married and I have a kid, and she's a baby. She's 1 year old. And I get on the Klonopin, and my mental health is just continually declining as I'm going through these different drugs, from one drug to the next drug to the next drug. And I'm
Mhm.
like, you know, all the answers that I can find are supposed to be found in modern day psychiatry, right? Like if I get on the right meds for me, the right dosage, working with a counselor, I should be able to like get my mental health under control.
Mhm.
That's what I thought. That was a message I was given. That's what these, supposedly like competent professionals were telling me. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, let's, I'm going to adhere to the medicine regimen. Um, and I'm going to try to see, if this works. And I continued to decline. So I do need to mention too, though, that meanwhile, the opiate addiction was still there, kind of unchecked. So
Mhm.
that did play a part, of course, too. I can't deny that
Yeah.
and take ownership of that for sure.
Mhm.
Um, so I get a new psychiatrist because I'm like, I got to get this opiate addiction under control. So I see him for the first time. At this point, I was on 3 milligrams of Klonopin a day. I'm on a few other drugs. And I said, I heard you prescribe Suboxone for opiate addiction, which is supposed to take away the craving for opiates. And he said, yes, I do. So right away, he started me on Suboxone. I was diagnosed bipolar, so I was on Lamictal. At this point, for some reason, I don't know, I was on Pristique, which is an SNRI. Um, and I went from 3 milligrams of Klonopin per day to 5 milligrams of Klonopin per day,
Mhm.
Inderal. And then on top of it, I was put on Vyvanse, and I hardly
Wow.
know why I
Wow.
was put on that.
To keep you up because you're so down. All those
Right.
tranquilizers, you got to have a little speed to speed it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to throw something else in the mix to try to, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, I went completely sideways with that mix. I mean, I mentally, like I was losing my faculties. Like I could not sit here and have a conversation with you, and um, I could not speak and make logical sense really from like one sentence to the next. It was
Wow.
just, it became kind of like food salad. I
Wow.
became really sick. I started losing a lot of weight. I was really gaunt. I was pale. My eyes were like sinking in. I would look like horrible and dehydrated all the time. I started losing my hair. Um, and mentally, I mean, I was just, I was having a lot of SI. I kind of got to the place where I just wanted to check out. I was like, I've been trying for so long to medicate this and you know use medication, use psychiatry, use psychology, and all these tools. And I've really applied myself in various ways to try to do this. And this is like the end result. Like I'm horrible. And I
Yeah.
started checking myself into like mental health facilities. And I would just like kind of go in and like check out for like a week or two at a time because I didn't know what else to do. I was just like, I can't
Mhm.
function anymore. Like in society,
Right.
it started to just like slowly like fade away.
Yeah.
Um, so my family suggested that I go to a rehab facility. And initially I was against the idea. I'm like, no, no, that's not my problem. I don't have addiction. It's mental health issues. Really, it was both. But anyway, long story short, I go to the rehab and now I kind of knew that I wasn't supposed to abruptly come off of benzos, but I had a foggy notion about it. I didn't do research. I wasn't on
Hmm.
any forums. I wasn't, I didn't know what the Ashton manual was. I didn't know anything. All I knew was that you can't come off of it too fast, or you could have a seizure and die. That's
Yeah.
really about all I knew. So when I talked to the rehab before going in, they just said, don't worry about that. You're not going to have a seizure. We're going to keep you safe. We're going to keep you comfortable. We know how to do this. We do it all the time. And I didn't know what else to do at the time. So I just went with it. I mean, I was at my wit's end. I didn't know up from down, left from right at that point. So I said, okay, let's go ahead. Let's do it. And got in there the first day. And I met with a psychiatrist and she said, okay, she looked at all the meds I was on, right, that I rattled off. And she goes, we're going to have you off of all this stuff in 9 days. It's just going to be a 9-day taper
God, I
and
can't.
we're going to be good. Yeah. She said, we're going to give you gabapentin. That's going to make sure that you don't have a seizure. We're going to give you muscle relaxers to help with the opiate withdrawals and you're going to be okay. And I said,
Can I ask really quick, what did they think was wrong with you? Like leading up to that, when your hair is falling out and you're sunken eyes and you can't make a sentence, what were they saying about you?
they just thought I was a junkie, like an addict. They just, oh, he's abusing a bunch of drugs and, obviously he's going to look like this. I think that was probably their impression because I was in a rehab with like 150 other people, and many of them, at least half, were heroin addicts, and, heavy, heavy users. So I think that was their impression of me.
It like makes me want to cry though, because like how
Yeah.
many people are in that position, and they're just kind of thrown away like, oh, he's a lost case. He's a lost cause, just drug him up, forget about him. I mean, I feel like I know that's kind of radical for me to say, but there's a lot of people. You're like telling my story right now because I look the same. My hair's falling out. I had dreadlocks in my hair. I wasn't bathing. I wasn't leaving the house, was not socializing. And they kept saying that's chronic and persistent mental illness.
Mhm. Yeah.
Instead
Yeah.
of look at all the drugs you have her on and she's out of her freaking mind. And that's why she's trying to medicate herself with other drugs because she feels so bad. No, it was you're junkie, you're trash, you're mentally ill, go away. Here's your paycheck and here's your pills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think you're exactly right. I think that's probably, yeah. I mean, looking back on it, it's like, how could that have not been apparent? I mean, to somebody who works in the field, I don't know. I mean, to me, looking back on it, it's so obvious. Like there's so many medications in my system at a high dosage too. I mean, these drugs were not, at a low introductory dosage.
Yeah.
These were drugs that I had been on many of them for a long time, over a decade, and
Mhm.
incrementally had gone up and up and up to the point where I was on 5 milligrams of Klonopin is a massive dose of
Yeah.
Klonopin.
Very
Um,
much. Very
yeah,
heavy.
so And even mixing that with Suboxone is deadly. I mean, it can literally stop your breathing. So,
Yeah.
and then throw in, a
Benzos.
stimulant in the mix. It's like, what do you what do you think's going to happen to a person like with that in their body, right?
Well, I
Oh
keep getting
God.
the visual, like when you're talking, I keep getting this visual in my head of like a Jenga, like let's pull this out here and stick it over here. And like, what are you exactly managing? And then my second thought is, and I have a lot of clients like this, like, for instance, their son smoked marijuana and then he got a schizophrenia diagnosis because he went psychotic and they put him on all these drugs. And now 10 years down the line, the son looks a certain way and they're like, this is not my son. And so my theory or my observation is the mental health system is treating something very different than the way you entered. And what is that you're treating exactly? You're treating a chemical soup that's laid on a person and they don't even understand what's happening to them because they're so altered.
Yeah.
That's not mental illness. You're treating something else entirely, like a drugged mess, and they don't
Yeah.
even see it. Like, I don't understand. Okay, but I was that person too, just like you. And we look very different. I mean, I almost wish we had before pictures. Do you have a before picture on your phone? Like
I
what you
do
looked?
actually. Well,
Let's
if
pull it up. Let's find
you
it.
want me to pull it up now,
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find mine too.
I've got it on my Instagram. So
I
if
don't
anybody
know.
wants to
I
go over
don't know
there,
if I can find
it's
one, but I'm gonna
it's
go
up
to
there.
the very last photo
I've
in my
got.
whole thing. Let's see if I can find
Should I hold it
something.
up?
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay, the one. Okay, see if you can see that.
Oh my God, there it is.
Look at that hair.
You look out of it.
Look
Poor guy. Oh my gosh. I
out
don't
of
know
it,
if
like totally unkept. Like did not care about my appearance. I mean, just completely out of it. On another planet.
so sad to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry.
Yeah.
Where did we leave off? Your chemical soup. You
Mhm.
are okay, detox. So you're at detox. They say
Right.
we'll get you off in 9 days. No problem. What
Right.
happened?
Right. Okay. So we'll get you off in 9 days. We're going to keep you comfortable. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. So they start my taper. I do the 9 day taper. And like oddly enough, like through that taper of the 9 days, I didn't feel anything. I mean, it's strange, but I think it just goes to show like how powerful these meds are that, I was going from whatever, I don't know, like half a milligram down a day. And then
Mm,
like the ninth or 10th day, I was completely off of everything. And I think this is another part that's like really hard to remember because I basically on the day or day after that I came off of everything. I remember they shuffle us around to groups inside that facility, because they want to kind of keep you like having structure during your day. So everybody, we're gonna go to group. And I was in like this 9 a.m. group, and I just remember like I looked around and I'm like, oh God, this is really bad. Whatever is happening to me right now is really, really bad. My heart started pounding. I started sweating, and I started to just lose it. I started to lose it pretty quickly. And I think over the matter of the next few hours, I just retreated back to my room. And there were like, they had 3 beds to a room. And I had the bed all the way against the wall in the far corner. And I had like a hoodie. I put my hoodie up and I laid on the bed. I stared at the wall and I just like started rocking back and forth. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And I started
wow.
to lose my grasp of reality, and I started to slip into psychosis. I started hearing voices that weren't there, like disembodied voices. I started hallucinating. I was hallucinating people. I was hallucinating like it was so crazy. Like I didn't know what was happening. Like I knew that like okay, I was in this facility. Like I knew that I had come in there. I had come in here to get off of drugs, but um, I really started to lose a grasp of like how do I function. Like
Wow.
I was losing like just basic function. Um, speech my cognition was almost gone. I was like speaking in like sentence fragments and words, and all I could try to get out was like you have to help me. Like I would go to the doctor and I'm the psychiatrist and the nurse, and I'm like you have to help me. Like I don't know what else to
Mm,
say. So they thought I was in serotonin syndrome is what they thought. I don't know why. So they
wow.
sent me to the ER. They pumped me full of fluids, and then they sent me back to the rehab. And I was still in psychosis. I mean, I was still coming out of my skin, out of my mind. And
Wow.
I think they started to freak out a little bit, but not enough to do anything about it. Basically, I threatened suicide, and what they did was they sent me back to the psychiatric ward. And when they put me in there, they gave me some Ativan, which probably kindled me, but it like brought back my mind, my cognition for a little bit, just a little bit, like a couple hours.
Wow.
And they said, okay, well, you're going to be in here for like the next 72 hours for observation, and then we'll see what to do with you next. And
Oh my God.
that's a whole nother story. I can talk about that, but that basically I spent one night in there, but it was the most insane, out of my mind, sick off of the opiate withdrawal, sick off of all the meds, psychotic mess that you could imagine. It was, rock bottom. I just wanted to flee. I didn't know what else to do. I was just like, I got to get out of here, and I've got to get some benzos. That's the only thing I could think, because I thought at that time that's the only thing that's going to like bring me out of this psychotic state that I'm in.
Right.
So
did you sign out AMA against medical advice, or did they discharge you?
I tried. When they sent me back, what happened was I had this, it was either a psychotic break, or it was a spiritual moment. But I had this moment where I'm just like, I like whatever's happening right now, like I give up. I can't do anything. I can't control anything. I can't talk. I can't make sense of anything. So I just got this feeling that like, if you go back to that rehab, it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to get through it. So just go, and you're going to be okay. And that's what I did. So I went back, and they brought me back, and I was a mess. I mean, I was a wreck. They had somebody following me around for like the next couple of weeks, just like a one-on-one, like a buddy.
Wow.
Like, you're going to be with Dan for the next couple of weeks,
Oh my
and
God.
keep him in your sight, make sure he's okay. They told me that I was the sickest guy they'd ever seen come through that facility, ever. Yeah. I went back to the psychiatrist, and I sat down in front of her, and I'm like, do you like understand what happened here? Like, do you know that, like, because by this time I realized, like, okay, she ripped me off these drugs way too fast. That's all I knew. All I knew was like way too fast. And I said, do you like understand like what happened here? What's gone on? And her response was, you just need to pick your head up, Dan. You can't, you can't have a bad attitude about this. It's nobody's fault. And I can't tell you like the rage and anger that like I felt, but like
I have rage for you right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like, are you crazy? Because here's the problem. We look normal and we sound kind of normal. Inside of your body, you are scrambled eggs on fire, running down the street naked.
Yep.
And they don't understand what they have done to you. Like, where is the compassion? I don't understand. I am so angry. I can't. Oh my God.
I know.
I can't.
I know, right? I know. You're right, though, too. Like,
it's cruel. It's like inhumane, cruel suffering when doctors do this. I wish more doctors would listen to our stories, because you just don't understand the amount of like what it does to the nervous system when you do that to someone, and then the trauma that it causes just from, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's inhumane. Like, you can't even explain it. There's no language for it.
There's not. No.
Like, you're dead, but you're alive, and you're being burned alive. I can't even, there's just metaphor,
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. Unless you've been through it, you can't understand what it's like. And you're so right. Like, so many of us, like, we do present well, and you sound okay. You're upright walking, like, you must be all right. This must be in your head. There must just be something else going on with you. But it is all that the result of that internal, that injury from the benzodiazepines.
And let me say one thing. At this point, when you're in a situation like this, where you are ripped off drugs, or you're in detox, or you're in rehab, or you're in a psych hospital, and they only watch you for 24, 48 hours, and they put you back on the street or whatever it is. If you don't understand that this is drug related, it is such a slippery slope to think I am really psychotic, or I'm going to go do something crazy, or I'm going to go walk the streets and talk to myself, or you could find yourself in a state hospital because of this, or ECT, or whatever, because you don't understand what just happened to you, because it's such a wild, terrifying, horrifying experience with hallucinations and all the symptoms that come with it. If you don't have that frame of reference to understand that it was drug related, you are in deep trouble.
You are so right. I mean, then that becomes like nightmare number two, because
Exactly.
now
Or you
you've
find
been,
yourself back on meds because and I wrote an article about this on Mad in America, if anybody wants to read it. Jill, if you could pull that article and put it in the chat, but reasons why you should not go to detox or a psych hospital to get off meds, because you come off 9 and you're on 13 when you leave, or this rapid way that they do it. Insurance doesn't cover a year of a taper. You don't do this in 9 days. Okay. And I just think that's part of what's going on in the system at large, that you keep doing this to people where you're messing with their brain chemistry, something you don't even understand. And these people get sicker, and then you think you're treating a mental illness, and then you put them on more meds. And these people, like you and I both, I was stuck in the system for 13 years on this hamster wheel. Try this, try that. Okay, this. And it's an art, it's not a science. No, you're throwing shit at a wall to see what manages the person for a certain period of time. And then when the brain adjusts to that, then you got to change it up again. And you never get off of it. You never. There's no end. I'm sorry.
Amen. Amen. Everything you just said was 100% true.
Over and over and over and over. These are our clients. These are the people we work with.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And you do. Yeah, you summed it up perfectly. You become a product of the system that's damaging you, that says they're this is where you're supposed to get the remedy from. And yet you continue, like you're poisoned again and again and again. And it's just this revolving door. It's a mess out there. It's an absolute mess.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right with the rehabs. I mean, that highly don't recommend anybody goes to a rehab to get off of psych meds, whether it's benzos or anything else. Had I known that prior, I would have definitely done things differently. But I was just, like so many other people that I talk to too, who tell me all the time, like, Dan, I just got out of treatment. I just saw one of your videos. I just saw somebody else's video. Oh my God, I had no idea. And I was sitting in rehab watching these videos about you guys talking about benzo withdrawal. And it just it hit me like, oh my God, like that's what's going on with me, and then they realize, holy crap, like I'm not going to find my solution with more meds in the psych system. So it's like, what do I do now? It's like, oh my God.
And one more segue, and then I wanted to get on to your healing process. But how the addiction industry, first of all, is very has got its own set of problems, like preying off people. It doesn't really work. It's a revolving door in and of itself. But then to say, oh, you have an addiction problem, but that means you have a comorbid illness. There's some other mental illness here that's making you use. So let's put you on some psych drugs. So for you and I both, we should talk about addiction really quick, because I have addiction in my history with opiates. I was looking back and looking through my records. Now I realize I was treating a benzo withdrawal prior. And similar to you, the way I see it is when you're on so many chemicals like this, because when my opiate addiction peaked, it was when I was on 18 drugs at the same time. When you're on that many chemicals, you don't understand, first of all, that being on 18 drugs, there's something wrong with that. Second of all, you feel so bad. You will do anything to feel better. So I don't look at addiction like it's some moral failure or it's some disease. No, I was trying to self-manage what the hell they did to me. You know what I'm saying? But that was part of my problem. When I went into a rehab facility to get off the opiates, then they put me on more psych drugs. So it's like almost like for you, it sounded like the first dose of Zoloft was your ticket to the mental health care system. And then when you go through rehab, then you get a whole nother set of here's some more drugs. Like it's ridiculous. People are, when you come off opiates, you are going to feel like crap for a long time. When you come off alcohol, cocaine, I don't care what it is, your withdrawal period is probably pretty short. And then you're going to feel really bad for a while. That does not mean you have a mental illness that you need to treat, in my opinion. Like give the person some time, give them some support. I've seen people come off opiates, they get on Suboxone, they can't ever get off Suboxone ever again. They can't. It's even worse than the heroin that they should have just came off in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. It just becomes like this, again, like this self-perpetuating thing, like over and over and over again.
a trap. And you just want healing. People are genuinely in 12-step programs, going to rehab because they want to feel better, but we are robbing them of that, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree. Even I was going to go down the road of saying more about Suboxone. I guess I don't need to.
Let's not. Let's move on, because we're already halfway through. We're running out of time.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay. Let's go to healing process. So you get out of. So take us through. I'm about to leave rehab. What happened next? Like, how did you heal from this? Because I can't even imagine.
So, the first few weeks after I got out of that psych ward hospital and went back to the rehab, it was just horrendous. I tried to keep a journal for a while to, document what was happening. And I was just like, holding the handrails, going down the hallway to prop myself up, to get down to the cafeteria, to try to eat like a banana. And I remember like I would sit there at the table with like 3 or 4 other people, and they would just stare at me like with wide eyes, like, oh my God, like what is wrong with this guy? And I just like, I felt like horrible. The anxiety was like through the roof. I mean, heart pounding constantly. I was sweating through like 5 to 6 shirts a day, and this was after like the opiates were, worked its way out of my system. So I was like past the acute part of the opiate withdrawal. This was just still left over from the benzos and stuff. I was so sick. I was so sick, but I don't know how. I have no idea how, Angie, but like over the next like 3 to 4 weeks or so, because they kept me like another week and a half or 2 weeks longer. Over that period of time, like I started to get a little bit better, like just incrementally, just enough to like function. Like I started to get
because you were probably coming out of the opiate withdrawal, and then the benzo withdrawal and everything else was ramping up.
Yeah. It really was. It was. And but I like cognitively, I started to come back just a little bit. And by the time that they released me, I think I was there like 42 or 43 days or something. My sister came and picked me up on a Friday, brought me back to her house, and I was just like, okay, I'm back in the world now. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. I'm not functioning like hardly at all. Like, can I drive? Can I work? I couldn't even hold a conversation with somebody. I mean, I was just like, what do I do now? My sister had me at her house, and she said, like, you can stay here for like a few months, and kind of recoup, and then you can go back home to your wife and daughter if you want. And I said that would be great. I don't know what else to do. Like, I can't function. Like, so oh my God, I don't know how I got through it, honestly. Like, all I know is that I was so scared. I knew I did not want to go back to psychiatric medication. I knew that was done. I was still left on the gabapentin and Inderal, and they told me, like, take the gabapentin for as long as you need to, give yourself a softer landing. And so that's what I did. And I think for me, I don't advocate taking meds for anybody else, but for me, I think that the gabapentin did just barely hold my head above water, so that I wasn't, just completely like bedridden.
Yeah.
So it was very, very slow. I eventually got back in the car and started driving. I did have akathisia. I had, not with just I wasn't pacing, but I couldn't sit down. Like, I could not sit still. I had this constant restless urge to, like, I have to get up, I have to keep going, which sucks because you're like so fatigued and like you just want to lay down and you can't. You want to like watch TV or like listen to music or something. You can't. Like, I had to have this like constant forward momentum. So I would just I would put my hoodie on and go outside, and I would just like walk around the neighborhood like in circles, like over and over and over again. When I was in the car, like if I felt like I had that forward momentum in the car, I felt like I was a little bit better. But as soon as I got out of the car or came back home and sat down, like, I felt horrible, and my mind was racing constantly. The anxiety was like unreal. But I got to a point where I was just like, my daughter was 4 years old, and she turned 4 years old when I was in treatment. I missed her fourth birthday, and I hated that. And I was like, whatever I have to do, like, I'm gonna find some way, like somehow to like get better or die trying. Like I've got to find a way. I
Yeah.
don't care how long it takes. Like if it takes me a decade, like I'm gonna try and see like if I can get better. Um, and you know, I started trying to like listen to every podcast I could, like read every book I could, you know, listen to every like alternative healing therapy I could. I don't care what it was. Like if it was like super religious or not, like I was just like, I am on board. Like, show me what you got. Like, tell me what I can do. I don't care. Like, you know, whatever it is, man.
Yeah.
So
What years were this? What years was this that this happened?
this was 2015.
So you were a year before me when you were going through it. Yes, there wasn't much back then, but I would listen. I'd lay in the bathtub totally out of my mind and just listening to Robert Whitaker from Mad in America or Peter Gertcha or Joanna Moncrief or whoever, and just like, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. This is real, you know, like just hang on, just hang on. Yeah, you're saying the same things I was thinking back then.
Was there much out at that point? Because I
Not a
don't
lot,
remember like,
not a lot. There was like one guy, I can't remember his name. I could probably find it, but he was like, oh God, he was just a plain old white guy with brown hair, and he was in his 30s or something. And he had a video that said 3 years off, it does get better. And I would listen to that over and over again. Then there was Laura Delano. She was talking about healing from psych drugs. I would listen to that one. And then there was some girl from Hawaii who was like 5 years off and said it's all gone. It all went away. And that was it. There was like 3 YouTubers. That was it. And there was benzo groups on Facebook, and some were good and some were not good, but that was about it. It wasn't really in the news. There was no films about it. Like it was kind of small. But for you and I think it was really clear. Like you go to the hospital, they did this thing to you, and you're out of your mind the next week. Where before you were like kind of functioning somewhat. But so it was very clear to me it was drugs. But just like you, I had that realization: I'm either going to die from this or I'm going to heal from this, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I can't go back to a hospital. There's no way. I'll die. There's no way.
Yeah. Right.
No.
And that's a position so many of us find ourselves in now. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the people that we both talk to is like they're in that state now where they're like, what do I do now? Like, how do I get past this? Like, what can I possibly do? And yeah, just like you were saying, I think I do remember seeing like a couple of people on YouTube.
Couple.
I think that one you mentioned about the guy, I think I remember him, and it was like
I want to find him because it was good. Let me find
like
him
I
while
can
you're
picture
talking.
his face if we're
His
talking about the
face,
same
and
guy.
he was like, you guys, it's all gone, it all goes away, I swear it's gone, you know. And it had like 100,000 views on his video, you know. Benzo Withdrawal, let me see if I can find it really quick.
Because I was like so desperate to find something positive, like anybody who could say that they had healed.
There wasn't many.
You know,
it's amazing how many more videos there are right now just searching Benzo Withdrawal.
Oh, there's probably
hilarious.
So many, right?
I can't find, I don't even see it. Usually it was right at the top, you know.
So that was 2014 for you?
No, I got off in 16.
Oh, in 16. Oh, okay.
16. So you were 15. So okay, so tell us really quick while I'm looking. Oh, that's Christine. Gosh, this is like blast from the past because I haven't searched this in so many years. But tell us now, how long like was the worst of the worst? Like how long was that recovery period? And then at what point did you come off gabapentin?
So the worst of the worst, I think, was like the first 9 months. And I think I turned a corner at 9 months. That's not to say like I felt a whole lot better, but I was getting incremental little windows along the way where the symptoms wouldn't completely go away, but they would like abate for just enough time to like give me a breath of air. Like, oh my God, you know, that 1 hour that I just had like sitting next to the pond felt decent, you know. And then of course, like after every window, like a horrible wave would like come right back and like just crush me right after that, inevitably every time. So it was incredibly discouraging, but I learned to like start to accept that was the process. Like I was going through this like back and forth. I'm going to have a little window. It's going to be like followed right up with a massive wave, and it's going to suck. And the wave is going to be way longer than that little window was. But I know that like something happened around 9 months, because I remember I had like 3 or 4 people were like, God, Dan, like you look a little bit better. Like you're not staring at the ground and like, you know, hunched over with anxiety as much. Like you look like you're holding yourself up a little bit more and like making eye contact. And I just ran with that. I was like, thank you. Like I needed like that little bit
Need
of
some
hope. Or,
reassurance. Yeah.
yeah, like somebody else could see it.
Look, I found it really quick. Look at
Oh,
this.
you got it?
Yeah, I found it. It's
I hope it's the
amazing.
same one I'm thinking of.
You remember?
Oh my God, is this the one? I think it is.
It's Brian Baxter.
Wow. Yeah.
Watch this. Those words, like just, that was like my hope back then. That was the hope.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, isn't it so awesome that like you could see somebody who is like their journey, and like by hearing them talk that they've been there, and then you see them on the other side, and it gives you that hope, like this is possible,
Yeah, yeah.
because there's so many, like, and there still is so much tragedy out there, and not to minimize that, like that's all real, like it
Yeah.
really is one of the hardest things I think a person can go through. But
Mhm.
then to also see somebody who's like gone through it, and then there they are, and they're like, this can be done.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of like, oh, like that little thread pulling you, like, okay, let's like try it
Or
again.
and just for maybe for 5 minutes you feel that relief because you heard the guy say it, and then like you have to go. I was like bouncing all over every 20 minutes, like I need more hope, more hope, more hope, just to get through. But yeah, and I just thought of like you and I are both making videos like this. I did my whole journey, and you don't realize like what other people are watching or hanging on to, I think. And I think we're humble. We don't think about that. Like we're just trying to share things, but there's people literally laying in the bathtub, laying on the floor, crying right now, watching your videos just to hang on 5 more minutes.
God, you're so right, because that's where I was, and I'm sure that's
Me
where you
too.
were
I
too.
was the same way.
I
Same.
remember literally crying on the bathroom floor
Yeah,
after getting
I'm
out of
being
the
literal
shower.
when I say that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Oh my God.
yeah.
Okay, so where do we leave off? Oh gosh, we're running out of time. Okay.
All
Um,
right.
I don't know.
Um,
Let's go ahead. You
so
continue.
I don't know. So yeah, I was like 9 months off. I was starting to feel a little bit better. Uh, and then it was okay. Oh, you asked about the gabapentin, so I'll address
Yeah.
that. So gabapentin, I took for, I think I took it for 3 years at
Mhm.
1,200 milligrams daily.
Wow. Wow.
Um, because I had tried to come off of it earlier, because I'm like, I hate medication. I hate, like,
Yeah,
I don't
you want
want
it off.
anything in my body, right?
Right.
So I tried to come off of it abruptly. And so I either like cut the dose in half or something, or I skipped a dose, and I'm like, let me just see how I feel. And I felt horrible. Like so much of the anxiety came back. My nervous system, just like that rattling feeling where you feel like you're vibrating. The
Mhm.
akathisia got ramped up. So I'm like, okay, I'm not ready to come off this. That was maybe at like a year and a half. So I'm like, okay, it really scared me. I'm like, how long do I have to be on this stuff now? Right. So
Right.
um, I gave myself another year and a half. So I think I was on it for like 3 years. And then I felt like I was stable enough in 3 years where I thought like I could come off of it now. So I went to a doctor, and I just said, look, I said, I need to get off this stuff. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what it takes. I need to get off of it. Um, but I said, the caveat is like, I need to go at my pace. And are you willing to work with me? And she's just kind of like, oh, I guess, like, okay, whatever. But she did. And so I started tapering it like 100 milligrams a month. So I was like, at 1,200 milligrams, I don't care if this takes me a
You're
year.
off
I
in a
don't care if
year.
it takes me
Mhm.
longer. I'm
Right.
going to get off of this. So I did, but it ended up taking me 18 months, because there were months that I did have to hold and, then keep going.
Mhm.
So it took me 18 months. I was also on Inderall that entire time. So
That's a
after I
beta blocker for those that don't know what that is, right? Beta blocker. Yeah.
beta blocker,
Which just
exactly.
slows
Yep,
your heart rate down, lowers your blood pressure. Sometimes it helps with agitation. Yeah, that's what you were taking. Okay.
exactly. Yep, yep. So came off the gabapentin, and then I was like, this is the last one. This is the last one I need to get off. And then I think it took me, oh God, I think it took me like 6 months, 6 to 8 months maybe, to come off of the Inderall. And that was a little challenging too, but nothing like coming off of all the other drugs.
Yeah.
So then it was like, that brings us up to, I think, like 2020, when then I'm like, okay, I'm off of everything now.
What
This
did
is
that
the
feel
first
like
time.
that day? Like your last
Woo! I
pill?
was like,
I know.
yeah, oh my God.
Same.
Oh
I'm
my
off.
God.
I'm not a slave anymore. No more
Oh my
Walgreens. No more
God.
pill containers. No more
Oh,
pills. No more looking for them or finding nothing. Oh my God.
yeah. Or worrying like, is
Good.
it,
Am I gonna run
do
out early? Do
am
I
I
have to
gonna
go to my
run out?
doctor?
Mhm.
Ugh,
All of that, all of that. I was
gone.
so relieved. I was so grateful because, then at this point I was what, 30, 39, 40 years
Hmm.
old. And I
Yeah.
had been on a medication of some type since I was 17. So it had been a long time since I had nothing in my body, except food, water, and breathing air.
Hmm.
And I did it. I was able to do it. I was able to come off everything, and I felt much better. I felt so much better when I was off of everything. Um, but it's been a long process. It's taken time. It's taken time, and
Yes.
it's taken a
Yeah.
lot of dedication, a lot of perseverance.
Hmm.
Um, Thankfully, I think, like, over that period of time, there were people like you and other people in the benzo community who were making more videos, talking about it more. The benzo coalition, all that stuff started to, I feel like, I don't know when it all started, the timeline on it, but I know that at some point, like, I saw that stuff popping up, and I'm like, it gave me so much more validation that it gave like credence to my journey through
Hmm.
that whole, horrendous thing that I had to go through.
Yeah.
That, okay, like, I'm not alone. There are so many other people out there, struggling with this. And, it's, I kind of like, I don't know, I hid it like for a while. I was like, I can't, like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to revisit it. Like, I don't want to, I just want to like close the door on it, and I want to keep going. And then for whatever reason, I don't know, I was just like, you know what, like, maybe somebody else needs to hear about this. And, if I put this out in public and make a video about it, and somebody wants to hold it against me, like, I don't care anymore. Like, that's on them. I've got to say something about this. And
Hmm.
so I did. I just made like a little YouTube video about it a little over a year ago, and just kind of like a 15 or 16-minute video, whatever, like talking about my journey. And yeah, I got like a big response from them. There were like so many people, like, all of a sudden, within like a matter of a couple of weeks, that were like reaching out to me and saying, asking questions, and like, wanted to know more, and saying that they
Hmm.
were struggling with it or had struggled with it too. And I don't know. I thought like it maybe I was doing something helpful, right? So I just kept making another video, another video, another video, and then that's how it kind of just like
Just
took off. Like,
evolved naturally, right? So
yeah.
then let's move to your coaching. Like, who do you work with? What is your philosophy? How do you help people?
Yeah, so well, right now I've got two things that I do. I work independently by myself, just through my own philosophical fishing, and then I also do work with Dr. Joseph Witt-Doring too, as a coach. Um, and everybody's so different. Like, when they come off of meds, and or if they're tapering, like, everybody's
Hmm.
at such a different place. There are a lot of similarities, but I think I like to I see, like, where are you at? Like, what are you mainly struggling with? And then, like,
Hmm.
what are some tools that, like, I've used to overcome this, or
Hmm.
things like I've had to like implement like throughout my journey that can help you get like from where you're at, like, to where you want to be. Like, what's your goal?
Hmm.
Do you want to be off of all drugs? Right? Because some people, like, no, I just want to take like a less amount or whatever it is. Some people are like, yeah, I
Hmm.
want to be off of like everything. And I use a lot of like my own experience to say, like, okay, how do we get there? A
Hmm.
lot of the information that's out there, the Ashton manual is great. There's so many other resources, and I'm learning new stuff all the time too. I'm always learning. Like, I'm always like trying to keep an ear to the ground for like, what's the next thing that's coming along that's going to help us?
Yeah,
Because I I feel like we're still in the dark ages of this, really.
me
I mean,
too. So do I.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
there's very little research. I feel like we're all like the guinea pigs right now, and we're all trying to figure out, like, what is the best way, like,
Well,
how do
and
we
yeah, and
change?
even when I talk about it, like I try to explain to people, we don't know what this is, but this is the pattern that I observe. We don't, this is what I see happening. Like, I think just Joseph and I are really good friends. So I I can't watch his videos all the time because I'm just too busy. But I think one time he said this thing about you have an overall, what did he say? It's kind of like nerve damage. Like basically every nerve in your body has been fried. We can't prove that. I can't prove that. There's no scientific study that says that. We know that that's what's happening, but in the way that it manifests and the way that it looks, there's no language for that. There's no training for that. But this is what we observe. This is what we experience. I'm talking about that. It's not scientific. I can't even explain what I'm saying, but that's what's happening. You know what I mean? And so sometimes when I'm talking, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm talking about because nobody even knows what the hell is happening to us.
Right.
It's scary. It's really scary.
It is.
But we're all experiencing it and we're all not collectively crazy because I mean, I'm full. My clients are full. I can't even get emergency cases in if I try, you know? So this is what's happening, but nobody can prove it and nobody knows what the heck it is exactly.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, somebody asked me recently, like, how do you know that all the symptoms that you experienced were like mainly from the benzo and not from the other psychiatric drugs you were on? And I mean, my short answer, like, is I don't know really. I mean, because the
You don't know what's
cocktail,
what. Most of us don't know what's what. But here's my thing. I have so many clients. I have 3 tapering support groups right now. All of them are tapering different drugs. All of them have very, very similar symptoms. To me, it's not the drug. We have this nervous system injury from the drugs. Pick a drug. It doesn't matter which one. I also have a withdrawal support group where everybody in that group is 0 days to 2 years off. And they all have almost the same exact symptoms, but one person took 54 pills. One person was on an antidepressant for 6 weeks. One person had 1 shot of an antipsychotic, anti-nausea drug in an ER. They all have the same symptoms. What is that? It's not the drug. It's your nervous system is injured.
Right. Exactly.
But it's the same injury, but we all have come to it from a different angle. 30 years of benzos, 4 weeks, 54 pills, 1 shot, 6 weeks. It doesn't matter. You all come to the same.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
And nobody knows what it is or what it does or what the body is doing in response to what's happening. I don't know. I have lots of theories. I wish I could go get a PhD in molecular cellular biology or something so I could figure it out, but I don't have 8 years.
Right. And it's like, when are we going to like finally get to that point? Like there's first, like, we don't even have the awareness really yet. It's like we're still trying to get that bubbled up to the surface to where there's even like recognition that this is going on first of all, so that then we can get smart people like that working on this and seeing what's going on.
I know, it's depressing. Oh, okay. So we're probably gonna have to do a part 2 because this is I still have a couple questions. Are you in a hurry to get off?
I'm not in a super hurry.
Okay, maybe we'll go like 20 more minutes, but I want to hear about, so one thing I just heard you say while you were sharing about your healing process is I call this concept suffering well. And it's like, while I'm brain damaged, what am I going to do? Now, I don't want that to come across because some people have done this and that person's probably watching right now. So I'm not hurting your feelings, but I'm saying as long as you stay alive, that's enough. Okay. That's all that's required of you. However, when you start feeling better or either impulses there are things you can do to make this experience not just for naught. Do you know what I'm saying? So me and you did the same thing. I was so desperate. I was like, I couldn't even listen to anything. Like it was agitating my brain to even listen to a YouTube video. And I might catch a sentence here and a sentence there. And I couldn't even piece them together. And I couldn't even make sense of it because my brain was scrambled eggs. But as like the months passed and the years passed, it's like, okay, what do I know about nutrition? I need to learn about that. What about neuroplasticity? What is that? Does that pertain to me? What about spirituality? Like I started because I had nothing else to do and I couldn't like socialize or I couldn't go out. So it's like, I needed these things to keep feeding myself to either feel like I was doing something or to learn something about what was happening to my brain. I even took a anatomy and physiology class to try to figure out like, what is it that's going on here? I did some trauma stuff, like learn about the parasympathetic nervous system. Like, what is that? So all that stuff that I learned to try to help myself get through it. And most of it wasn't the first year, it was later. That helped me get some of my life back and keep the hope going and the carrot in front of me. But then that's also what I've used to help other people through the process, you know? So can you talk about that? Like just a little bit, like your own healing process, how that informs your coaching practice or how that helps you help others.
Yeah, I mean, everything that you just said, like I echo that. I like, totally parallel that 100%. And a lot of it did come later too. Like as I was trying to find like different methods, I'm like, I don't, if it's a nun praying over my head, I did that too. Like I didn't care what it was.
Yeah.
You mentioned neuroplasticity, and I started to read a lot about that, try to learn as much as I could about it because I figured, okay, like that gave me a lot of hope. if this is a brain injury, which I accepted that it was, then if the brain has neuroplasticity and it has the potential to change, then there's got to be something that I can do to change it. What can I do? And sometimes one of the simplest things, honestly, it's going to sound way oversimplified, but is like gratitude for me. I started to just try to find something. I know this sounds like way oversimplified, and it probably is, but honestly, like even on days like I was feeling really horrible, I would try to find what's one thing. Like, can I try to find one thing like I'm grateful for? Like, do I have fresh water? Do I have a shower? Do I have clothes? Do I have food? Like, I would just
Everything.
look at that stuff and say, okay, like I do, like I have the necessities. Like, I'm worried about them all going away because I can barely function. But today I have this. Like, I have a roof
Yeah.
over my head. I have somewhere to sleep. And I would really like, I would try to redirect my focus on like, I'm going to try to focus on that's what I have. Even though like I feel horrible, I feel awful, like I feel like crap. I'm going to try to focus on that. And I think it was like the repetition of practicing that over and over and over again, because it's not, I didn't feel grateful, like it didn't make me feel better all of a sudden. I was like desperately looking for ways to try to get better. And so I started to do a lot of gratitude practices. I started to work with a lot of different meditations, um, so many different ones, and I still do today. Um, and exercise. I started to, at first, all I could do was walk, and I had anhedonia too. So I had this like this beautiful like 7 mile trail like through the woods where I lived, and I would just like go and I would like try to just walk or like maybe do a light jog or something, and I felt like nothing, just absolutely. It wasn't even like depressed. It was just like nothing, which scared the crap out of me. Like I would actually rather feel like sad than nothing. It was just like a totally barren landscape, like being in the Arctic, all of a sudden just thrown in the middle of Antarctica. And I'm like, oh my God, like my dopamine system must be so screwed up,
Shot.
because like the natural reward system, of things that normal people, whatever, just the way that we're supposed to generate like dopamine naturally, like this,
Mm-hmm.
like having a conversation or learning something new or like whatever, having sex or like eating food or whatever it is, like all those natural things, like those, like that had like, it was gone, it was burned out of my system because I was constantly feeding it with the medication over and over and over for so many years.
Yeah.
I had to start like retraining my body, like how to accept a natural dopamine hit. And it took time, like that when I was in that anhedonia, like I didn't feel anything. I would go take a walk, I would go to the gym, and I would like try to exercise. It hurt my nervous system so much. And look, I'm somebody also who like I did too much too fast. And I say that all the time, like don't necessarily do what I like.
What
I
I
was
did.
talking to somebody else, like I ran to like Disney World, like right away. Like I thought that it looked like if I exposed myself to like all the
Crazy
stimuli, like
stuff.
somehow,
The
no,
brain will help. Well, we should
yeah.
talk about that because people use that as a weapon against me. And honestly, it's my biggest trigger when people say, you weren't that bad, Angie. You went to school or you were able to drive. First of all, I took one class, but second of all, I only went one place that my brain had gone for 11 years. You know what I mean? But I think like there's some of us that are so desperate or not even sure like what's happening to them. Like I don't think I understood what was happening. And I felt so bad. I should probably have not done that stuff, but I did because out of desperation or denial or just dumb or just not having the capacity to understand what exactly was happening. But I was so scared. It was like, I need to be around people somehow or I'm going to lose my mind.
Mhm.
Do people use
Yeah.
that as a weapon against you? Like you're not that bad if you couldn't go to Disney World?
I've heard from other people that somebody like there's been I don't know, rumors or something that somebody said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I I was trying to do, I was just like you said, like I was
Just a
trying to like
desperate. You'll do
desperate,
anything.
like put myself out there and be like, maybe this will help. I don't know. Like there's like no guidebook, like do this,
No,
don't do that, do this.
no.
So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna freaking go to Disney World and I'm gonna like show my brain you can be around all the stimuli and you're gonna be okay. Like that was my thought process. What I
Hmm.
was doing was I was overdoing it, and
Yeah.
then I would have to like, it was just trial and error. Like I had to go back to the
Yeah.
drawing board and be like, okay, I way oversensitized myself, and now I'm like in more nervous system dysregulation because I did that. Now I've
Yeah.
got to like learn how to like dial it back. I'm stubborn, like I'm hard-headed,
Same.
and I'm like a go person. Like,
Same. That's my personality from to
yeah,
begin
like
with. Yeah.
I don't want to sit around. I don't want like I want to attack the problem and like freaking show who's bought. Like I'm gonna get past this, you know. But I had to learn like that's not necessarily the right way. Like I had to give myself time.
But I still don't feel like that hurt me, or that, because even one person said maybe that's why you're protracted, Angie, because you pushed it too hard and you went. First of all, I didn't have a choice, because when they're filming me for a movie, you think I can just lay on the couch? No, I have to be doing something for them to film. Okay. And then the film comes out and now they're flying me all over the world. That's one of the reasons I'm in an RV, because I was like, I can't do this. Like the flying is too much. But you don't really have a choice sometimes. And there's people, I don't give a crap if you guys believe me or not. There's people with akathisia, pacing, that are working. You don't have to believe me. I watch it.
Mhm.
We can do crazy things. Okay. When you're desperate, when you're terrified, when you're life or death situation, or you're like, your ability to eat is, I always say, like, if the building was on fire, you will find a way to get out of it.
Mhm. Yeah.
This was our way out. We just did what we had to do. Everybody's doing what they have to do. Just cut out with this comparative suffering shit. I hate it. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done. Moving on.
How far off were you when you made a movie?
They were filming me when I was 10 months off.
Holy crap. Wow.
The
Yeah.
scene from the very beginning of me on the couch talking about the SI and the HI I was like in the worst of it. And the minute they turned the camera off, I said, can you delete that? Because I don't want anybody to know like how, and not the whole thing made it in the film, but it was so bad. It was the interacathesia stuff so bad that like, I'm on the verge of like, I didn't even want to be in the film, because I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it. There's no way. But they would come back every 6 months. So in a way that kept me going, but in a way it would stress me out, because they would show up with this big crew and they're in my house, and now we have to go for a walk, and now I have to go to the grocery store, and there's like probably 500 hours of film, and they only used about 8 minutes. So you guys only see like a tiny fraction of what they made me do. And I'm out of my mind on camera, and I look normal. Anyway,
yeah, and you still present
crazy.
well, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
never know on the inside. It's a burning house. Yeah.
Right.
Dumpster
Yeah.
fire.
Right.
Anyway.
Amazing. Yeah.
Anyway, it's crazy. Yeah. Well, we do what we have to do. Everybody's doing what they have to do. Just look at it that way. You are doing what you have to do. If you're listening right now, there's no right way to do it or wrong way to do it. And it shouldn't be a contest of who's doing it right or who's doing it wrong or who had it worse. Everybody has it as bad as they have it. Okay. It's like even a person with tinnitus, and that's their only symptom, and it makes them want to unend their, stop the life thing. That could be compared to someone with extreme akathisia walking in their family's basement, and they both feel the same about their symptoms. Like that's just what it is,
Yeah. Yeah. You're 100% right. Yeah. And we just do what we have to do to get through it.
You gotta do.
Yeah.
But there is a place for, there is, some people just lay on the couch because they cannot move. That is fine. You're doing it right. If you stay alive, that's right.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I always just say, you do what you can do when you can do it, and not a moment sooner. Like you do, it'll evolve. Just hang in there. Okay. So let's move to the end. Let's talk about hope.
Yes.
So you have gotten through this, and you, just like me, watch people heal every single day. Right. And it's a beautiful sacred thing that we get to do. So let's talk about hope. What is the hope here? Do people get better? Is it permanent, Dan? Is it permanent?
My God.
How many times have you asked that?
I don't know. I gotta go. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, so my answer to that is, I say that I'm healed, but I also talk about in my videos how I still have benzo belly. So people are like, well, then you're not healed, if you have benzo belly. And what I say is like, okay, let's define healed. I define healed as I can live my life today, and I'm not held back by the damage that was done anymore. I can do everything that I want to do, bar none. Like that's it. It doesn't hold me back anymore. In fact, like I feel like I can do more now than I could before any of this stuff happened. I feel like I'm a better person. I feel like I've grown in so many ways because I was forced to. Like I had to find a way through this. So I had to find coping skills. I had to educate myself. I had to read as many books, listen to as many podcasts and interviews as I possibly could. And all that stuff has like enriched my life so much. Like I'm a better father, I'm a better husband, I'm a better friend, I'm a better neighbor, I'm a better person in my community. And it's because I went through this horrible thing and I tried to make some meaning out of it. Like I'm not going to just like let this be like a gratuitous injury that happened to me, and it's like it's not going to like this isn't going to define who I am. Like I'm going to find a way to like make some sense out of this whole catastrophe. And I have like that's like the hope. Like I want to show people is like it doesn't, yeah, like it sucks, it's horrible to go through, it's absolutely terrible and it's terrifying and it's all that, and people can really lose a lot of stuff and time and years of their life. But on the other side, you can come out of it, you can heal, you can heal to the extent that you can go on and live a good life and live like a lot of years ahead of you to, you know, really enjoy your life. Like I remember I had a doctor, like I was 34 when I came off of all this stuff. And I was like, I'm done. Like I'm sunk, like I'm toast. I got nothing else. Like I'm gonna, because the scariest thing I think for all of us, and like you could probably attest to this too, like the people you talk to or just your own experience, like we're afraid that like we're gonna be the one to like not heal. Like we're gonna be the one that's we're permanently damaged and we're never gonna get past like wherever we're at now. It's never gonna get better. Like you don't know how bad it is. It's like, yeah, I do. Like I know it sucks. That was my biggest fear. My biggest fear was like what if I don't, like what if, oh my god, like that was the most terrifying thought. And I was like, I cannot let myself go there. Like I have to keep moving. Like I have to put my mind on something else and something positive. And just like that video that you showed again, like hold on to like those whatever 3 minutes that guy's saying, like, hey, I got through it, I'm on this other side. Like hold on to that, like that, let that be your guiding force and your guiding light to like pull you through this, to know that like you can absolutely live a better life. I mean, that's the whole reason like I made a video about it to begin with. It was just like to let people know, like as bad as I was, you know, like the horrible, very like traumatic thing that like I went through. You know, I feel good today. I feel awesome being off of medication. I know that it's possible, you know, and so it's awesome that we get like it fills me like with so much gratitude like talking about it, because you know all the like the different directions like my life could have gone, you know, back in the psychiatric system, back in the psych ward, like back on, you know, I do still need to, you know, whatever, like I to be like here now off of that, like living my life like present moment awareness, I'm okay, I'm grateful for like what I went through, even in some regards, and what I have today is it's the biggest thing. Like I want to like give that to everybody, but just like everybody's got to like walk their own little path and like go through this journey, but to let it be like something that can really like forge you and fire and really change you. It can. And I'm not the only one. I'm sure you could say the same thing, right? Like it's changed you for the better, like in so many ways. Yeah.
I say like I live deeper, I love deeper, my capacity to like hold other people's suffering, to feel like I can just sit. This morning I went outside and looked at the sunrise, and it's like I am filled with awe and wonder. I never felt that on drugs. Never. I never felt that before drugs. I just was about my day. You know what I mean? So and I could die tomorrow and be completely happy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah,
Worth it.
exactly.
That's the gifts on the other side. And I think I wouldn't have believed it when I was in it. I didn't believe coaches. I thought everybody's full of crap. These success stories are lies. Like I got something else. This is different. You know, I still have symptoms and I'm really honest about that. Mine are mostly visual. And it does prevent me for like, I want to go rock climbing right now and I can't, probably like severely high up. There's some bridges and roadways that I want to go see, and I just can't quite do it because my eyes are kind of funky with depth perception and stuff like that. But I've had other brain injuries. So is that the brain injury? Is that the benzo? I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I'm still waiting. I keep seeing improvement. So, but it does not, but what I have right now, anything else, it does not prevent me from doing. In fact, I do more, like you said, do more than I've ever done. I roller skate, and then the next day I go play ping pong, and the next day I play tennis. I never lived like that before. I'm like, what are we gonna do today? I'm going to Park City, Utah. I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a good
Yeah.
time. That's all I know.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah,
Whatever.
exactly. Like you're out there
You live
kicking butt and
life.
taking names, Angie. It's
Exactly.
awesome.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. All right. I have one more question for you, and then we'll get off, I swear.
Okay.
This is my question, because you are the same as me. I think you said you were medicated from ages 17 to 34. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay. So how do you process all those years that you lost? Because
Oh,
those are very formative years, and that's a heavy question. I
yeah.
lost from 24 to 40, or 20, yeah, about 24 to 40.
Yeah, because it is a lot of years. And
A lot of
I
years,
mean,
important
during those
years.
years, I mean, there was like a lot of damage done too, like to people that I loved, to friends, family members, to myself.
Mhm.
Um, I honestly like I went through a period of grieving when I came
Mhm.
off of everything. Like it really was a legitimate grieving process
Yeah.
of, oh my God, like I've just walked out of this fog that I've been in for so many years. And now I'm confronted with some of the wreckage that I've,
Mhm.
created, or that has been created as a result of, in the wake of all these medications. I've been so angry and full of rage at the psychiatric system, at the doctors. Like I wanted to retaliate. I wanted to go after them. I wanted to sue them. I wanted to but like mentally and physically, I couldn't at the time.
Mhm.
Um, I was, and then I like after like kind of like the shock and the rage wore off. I started to practice a little by little, like bit by bit, some acceptance of what had happened and what like now lies in front of me, like this new path. Like I have to walk now because I'm not going back. So I can only like try to find the best way forward.
Mhm.
And it was grieving. Like it was really like it was a lot of crying. It was a lot of just turmoil emotionally. Like how do I, what just happened? Like it was mind blowing. Like how did I get here? Like all I was trying to do was like medicate my depression. And then, you look back and you can see how like, okay, like the Xanax led to this, and that led to this, and this led to this, and then they
Yeah.
compounded in polypharmacy and all this, and you get spun up in this web. And then, all of a sudden you undo that and you're like,
Mhm.
oh my God, like it was overwhelmingly a lot to process. And it
Yes.
just took time. Like it took time to
Yeah.
go through that, the rage, the grief, and then to like finally come to a place where like now I can accept it, and then not only accept it, but like then turn around and actually like use that to help somebody else, and like pull somebody else up from like that depth, to
Mhm.
show them like what you did, like the path that you walked. Now it's like now I'm actually grateful for a lot of it.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it
Like
is
your
weird.
suffering is used, like all those things were preparing you to get through it, and then you got through it, and then you use it to help other people. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Like how many years was this unfolding and I wasn't even aware of it, or how it was gonna help me later, or how I was gonna build the person that I always wanted to become, but I didn't expect to get there this way. But okay, here I am, you know. It's
Exactly.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll add to that is I process it the same way. The only thing I'll add to that is that after the anger wears off, I see people go through this cycle. It's kind of like the stages of grief by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, if anybody knows what that is, but it's like acceptance, anger, you kind of like battle with it. There's always this stage where people are like, I'm going to do something. I'm going to make a nonprofit. I'm going to write the senators, or I'm going to change a law. And I'm like, okay, I'll watch you do that. And they never do it. Like it's just it's part of the grieving process, you get really angry. But once you process that and you go through that and you talk to someone about it, that you can talk to a coach about that who's a little ahead of you, or a friend or a priest or a yoga teacher, whoever you need to talk to about it. But after that process, you don't stay angry. It's like, I don't have time. I am living my life. I don't want to give
Yep.
them another day. If
Yep.
anything, just helping you guys get through it, I'm like, I get joy out of that. And that feels like a sense of justice. And that feels like I'm getting a little bit of like reparation for myself when I help other people through it. Like, yes, like the other day, somebody from the UK, I won't say his name, obviously, but he was like, I'm 8 days off benzos after a year taper. And I was like, You know, I jumped out of the
Yes.
van. I was like, I'm going to do a dance for you. I'm so happy. So like, it
Yeah.
gives me like such joy to watch people get their lives back and watch me, you know, in spite of the system, because they're not going to help you. You got to do it yourself, whether you want to or not. Here you are, you know? So, I think that's the only thing I would add is that you don't spend your life angry about it. You actually go live and you enjoy every single second, and you know it happened and it's past, but you don't feel traumatized by it. And it's like, okay, that's behind me. I need to keep looking forward and build a good life from here. You know,
Mhm. Yeah,
that's it.
exactly. Beautifully said. Yeah, it's like rebuilds your soul from the
Yeah.
inside out.
The inside out, like an onion is what I say too. Okay, my battery just told me your Mac will sleep soon unless you are plugged into a power outlet. Okay,
I
so
guess that
everybody,
means it's time
that
then.
means it's time. Okay, so in closing, do you have any last words or thoughts to share with anyone?
Um, well, thank you so much for having
Thank
me. I
you.
really, really, really enjoyed this. It was
Thank
awesome.
you. Me
I
too.
love it.
Me too.
No, just keep going. Keep going. And when you feel like you're hopeless, grab onto a little bit of hope. Just look for look for Angie, look for somebody else out there who's
All
like
of
been through it
us.
and just like hang on to that, like hang on to it when you're on the bathroom floor crying.
That's it. All right. So to reach Dan, all of his links are below. Tell everybody where they can reach you real quick.
Okay, you can find me at Philosophical Fishing. I'm on, if you just go on YouTube, Philosophical Fishing, TikTok, Instagram, or my website is philosophicalfishing.com. You can find me there, or Dr. Yosef's website too, Whitdoring.
Perfect. All right. Thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you soon. I got a whole bunch of interviews coming up in the mix. I'm still planning. So if there's anybody you want to hear from or topics you're interested in, please comment below or shoot me a message and we'll get them on. But I enjoy making these videos. I'm a little behind. I need to make more. Me and Dan were talking about that. He's way better at TikTok than I am. I just don't feel like doing it. I'm lazy. But anyway, you go watch his TikToks. They're really hilarious and some are really good and deep and shareable, all that. Okay, so thank you, Dan. And this was good for me too. I loved it. It feels great. It's
Awesome.
validating for me to talk to someone my length off also, you know. It's cool. All right.
Awesome.
So everybody else, we'll see you next Friday for Facebook Friday, and hang in there and you're going to get there. So just hang in. Hang in. All right. Bye everybody.